Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Improve Podcast, the official podcast of Classic Studios. I'm your host, Chase Collins, and happy Monday. We're right in the middle of February, second month of the year, shortest month of the year, and we are getting into it. I hope you all are excited for another episode of the Improve Podcast. We have a great podcast for you all. It's actually an update to one of our short films that I wrote that's actually in production right now. We're talking with the lead producer. We collaborated on the story. I wrote the script, and he's sort of producing and helping with, direction and everything like that. But it's definitely his baby. He's been so gracious to, sort of document the process of creating this short film. So I've been capturing that on this podcast, and this is an update. Right now, he is right in the middle of producing the film. Like, they're actively filming, they're actively shooting, and it is great to hear him in this sort of tired state. He is absolutely exhausted during the shooting of this podcast, but he's a trooper. He sticks it out for another great one. We get some awesome lessons learned and stuff like that, and he provides some really good insights for, an indie filmmaker producing their films. If you want to jump around, there are time codes in the description. If you want to get to the good meaty bits of the podcast or whatever you're interested in, just feel free to jump around and you can do that. I hope you all set your goals for this week and accomplish those goals that you set for last week. If you want to hear about my goals, stick around to the end, and I'll be chatting it up about that when I recap the podcast for the outro. But I think that might be about everything from me. So I will talk to you all later. Enjoy this podcast, and peace out.
Improve Podcast. Improve Podcast. Improve Podcast.
But yeah, man, it's been a minute. So I guess let me do a quick recap of where we were. I had turned in like the finished script and everything like that, and you had made some notes, sort of integrated it into like this third sort of like shooting script, and now you were entering in pre-production, getting all your actors lined up and shot locations and directors and cinematographers and all of that jazz, and now it sounds like you're deep into production.
Yeah. We're very, very much into production, but basically what happened was my class was structured in a way so that we'd start filming in like late December, early January, and we'd only have like 2 months to shoot. But like I started working with people who were I started working with people who were like study abroads, which made it so that way people were leaving at December 20th. So I was like, okay, we're just going to shoot now. I mean, I didn't think there was any more planning that needed to be done. In hindsight, probably yes. But for now, I was just like, okay, we're fine. We can just start shooting. We need to. And so far, it's going really well, actually. There's so much to say. I guess I'll let you lead the way with this because, like I said, there's just... I mean, I'm a different person. Like,
Really?
I feel like I've aged like 2 years. Like I keep saying that. It's been crazy. Yeah.
Man, that's awesome. Yeah. So in what ways do you think you've changed? I guess it seems, I don't know, from like an outside looking in. I'm in the group chat and I'm seeing you hustling. Like, you're posting updates. You have some stills and everything, and then also like your shooting schedule and just locking all of that down. It seems like you're really stepping into that producer role.
Yeah. So I guess like in terms of like how I wouldn't say I did say that I feel like I've changed, but it's more like just I feel like I've had such a more appreciation for like the filmmaking process and like how much people you need and like just how much planning goes into it. I mean, it's just so crazy. Like you see the schedule and you see everything that I posted in the group chat and the stills and everything, and it looks like we're everything's on track and everything's like flawless, but that's just not how it goes, like. So I mean, I probably talked to you last time before we even shot our first scene, which was actually the finale. But when we shot that, we actually didn't have our main character yet, right? So it was like just moments like this just keep happening. And, you saw me also stressing about like finding a location for the office, which I think we found, but it took like, me seeing the layout of people's like, apartments and everything and be like, okay, I think this works. And it was just like, it was like that basically the whole way. Like nothing was ever really like set in stone until it was like the week of or something like that. Like we even recast Rodrigo, 2 nights ago, 3 nights ago, as we were filming scene 11, which is like the confrontation scene,
Oh
so
wow.
it's like, because she was there and the original actor for Rodrigo wasn't there, and it just like kind of worked out that way. But that's like how this whole filmmaking process has gone. And yeah, I mean it's really cool. But like one thing I would say for people who might be interested in like making movies is like don't get too tied into like one thing, one location, one actor, anything like that. Like, you know, sometimes like the best things that you're looking for are like just right there, and you just like haven't asked the right person, or you haven't really thought about it. I mean, so much of this film has just been me like finding people through people, and me like just going to like a place that's a friend's apartment and being like, this is it, So
Yeah,
yeah, we're
that's
definitely
really cool.
I'm I'm trying to like figure out how to like actually talk to you about this, because it's been so much of like me talking to people and like kind of venting about this process, because like it is a very like difficult process, and we have so many people working so hard on this film, and like a lot of them, I mean, none of them are getting paid, right now we don't really have a budget,
Hmm.
like all the budget's going to props,
Sure. Yeah.
everyone's just like working so hard, and it's just fascinating to see how this idea has kind of taken on a life of its own. I think people still see it as like my project, but I think at some point they might detach that from me, and be able to actually see it as something that they worked on, and that might come when the film is finished and their name is in the credits. I don't know, but I mean, I have some serious like help with this film. I couldn't have done this like, in the way that I had envisioned it before. I mean, I've just like learned so much, and as we're filming, I'm like learning more about how to make scenes more efficient and everything like that. But you know, it's all a learning process. And I think like I was really like excited about this, and I was really like, oh man, I got all these ideas, and I'm just so ready for it. But I think after this, I'm gonna take like a huge break from filmmaking and just focus more on like something that doesn't require cameras, like,
Yeah.
you know, something that is like live action with schedules
Yeah.
and stuff, and I can just like focus more on like the creative aspect. So
Definitely.
yeah,
Yeah. I mean, it's certainly like a laborious process, and I think being agile, like being flexible, not being
right,
locked into any one idea, has
yeah,
really like aided you, and that can certainly like be a a hindrance for folks who are like perfectionists, really looking to like, no, it must be exactly in this way. But as
yeah,
soon as you start like widening that aperture and seeing, okay, well, we have a little bit more room for flexibility here. Like, I think the example you brought up with recasting Rodrigo as a girl, like gender swapping her or him, whatever the character, it's it allows you to take the character in a different direction than
yeah,
like either of us had really originally envisioned, and then and that just came up because of circumstances, like, oh, you're here, like, let's shoot you in this scene. And I think that is really awesome.
yeah.
you know it'll definitely impact the final product of the film, and probably for the better. So I'm excited for those types of changes are fun. And that was from like a screenwriting perspective. I've like any project I'm working on, I'm always writing it, understanding that I'm like the first step. I just get words on a paper and, do some scene outlines and descriptions and, dialogue. But then like from there, like I know there's a director, there's a cinematographer, there's producers, there's actors
Yeah.
involved who reinterpret what's written on the page and, take it and put certain inflections that'll change the nuances of whatever
Yeah.
dialogue that's there and really turn it into something greater. And so it's yeah, I feel very much like a piece of a much larger whole.
Yeah. 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 You're gonna see that much larger hole in a while from now. I'm telling you right now. I'm gonna keep updating the group chat with like screenshots and stuff, but I mean, really, like this is only half of the battle. Like editing is gonna be another thing, because I mean, partially the way that I decided to record the audio. Like I didn't actually have a clapboard. I didn't rent one. I didn't borrow one from the school. Like I probably should have, but I don't think there was any available. And also, there's just the fact that like this is just one of those things where you don't think it's that important, and then you actually have to go into the editing process and you realize how important it is. And it's like it's just been such a huge learning experience. I mean, honestly, I feel like after this, I'm going to be ready to take on any project. But I definitely don't see myself doing this like again for a minute. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I don't know. I want to sound more excited about it. It's just been so stressful. I mean, and not even stressful. It's just been a lot. Like I'm just exhausted. Like I haven't really slept very well. I haven't really been taking care of myself. Like I've just been like on Red Bulls and like
Yeah.
just going home, charging cameras, emptying cameras, and going out shooting again.
Right. You need a runner. Isn't that what that person's called? Someone who runs SD cards back and forth.
Oh my God, yeah. No, I mean honestly, there's so many things that we could actually do better.
Yeah.
I think for the amount of people that we are, like, it's gonna go really well. It's gonna go really well. I'm already envisioning the editing like right now as I'm filming, and like I'm just so excited. And I even like started marking up the script you sent me. I added a new one, like I duplicated it and like I just marked it up with like, okay, here are B-rolls, here's something that would be interesting, here's shot on GoPro, here's things that we already covered and yeah. So I mean, I think there's still room to change from the script, things that we don't even need to necessarily write down. Um, I'm not sure like what that would be yet, but as I was just basically filming not scene 10, but like basically I thought it would be cool to have like some more intercut shots of like the motorcycle and the guy who's on it, who's supposed to be Dax. I thought it'd be good to like get some extra scenes of that. So I just went out for the first time on a motorcycle and it was like crazy and fun. And I felt like I was going to fall off, but like doing that, I realized like, there's something that we might be able to do with this in a more like narrative sense, to just like play things up. Like maybe, we have a GoPro, so maybe like we put the GoPro on him and it's like it's like Dax having a conversation with Lacey, so that way we can have that like happen, as he's going to the location instead of, on the phone or whatever. Like there's just like things like that.
Mm-hmm.
We still have room to change. I mean, even like I was thinking of like the world building sense, I haven't filmed any like city stuff yet. I still have to do that. And I was thinking like maybe I could even change like the whole context of the world around. And, like there's just so many like things that you can do after you started filming, or like in the middle of filming, and you kind of have to make like those decisions. I don't know. It's like it's taken on a life of its own. It really has, and it's taken over my life too. Like, but I think that this is going to be like really cool. I'm really excited. We have a lot of stuff. We have a lot of stuff to work with, which is like better than being on the other side, And because of all the planning, because of like everything that we've all put into it, I mean, it's just gonna come out like so much different than something which is like rushed or just done like with less effort,
Yeah.
I definitely think this is a project that someone like me needs to be in charge of, like needs to be making. I don't think that the job that I've like taken on is for everybody. Definitely not. But I'm glad I have such like a good team working with me.
Yeah. That's really cool. You've found like a like a role that you are good at and are able to do, and all that planning is definitely already paying dividends. It's going to continue to do that like as you get into you even messaged me today talking about doing, oh yeah, we might reshoot this scene, and it's like, yeah, if you were down to the wire, you wouldn't have time to reshoot anything. Like you would just have to go with the shots you got. But because you're so early in the process, or you started so early before the deadline, you have time to go back and do that stuff. But I kind of want to go back up a little bit and talk through where you are right now in the production process. So you sent me like a shot list of scenes that you filmed, and I guess maybe just walk me through like which scenes you decided to shoot first and maybe why, or and like I don't know, just that whole process of being. How is it with the actors? Like, what is the direction like? I don't know. Walk me
Okay.
through it. I want to feel like I'm there.
Okay, so we started shooting yeah, our finale scene, and the reason that we did that was because we didn't have our main actor. So I mean that just like made sense, and I kind of
And
figured like
is that Dax or is
he,
that Lacey?
no, that's Dax. That's Dax. He's
Okay.
like basically on the motorcycle driving out. It's the outskirts and of the city, and then you see like this new cyberpunk city that's been developed. So like we decided to film those first. And yeah, the reason was because we didn't have a Dax yet at that point, and I was still kind of scrambling for who I was going to pick because basically my cousin, my friend Kareem, I think I might have mentioned him on this podcast. I'm not sure, but he was basically his cousin was going to play Dax because he like fit the role perfectly.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, you know, and he's Italian, and we're filming in Italy, so it like adds like a bit of like cultural significance, and you know, it's like a very like interesting idea, and I really wanted this character. Like I knew that I wanted him to play Dax basically months before we did any shooting. So I was like, you know, trying to hit him up, and from what it sounded like, he actually knows how to drive a motorcycle and everything, and he like looked the part. He kind of seemed like it. But then like we had a few meetings, and then he just like wouldn't show up on time and everything like that. And I was like, okay, well, we obviously can't go with him. I mean, there's no way. And then my friend Kareem, he wanted to be Dax because he felt, you know, drawn to the character and the idea of like the underdog and everything like that. So I was a bit indifferent. I was like, I don't really know how I feel about that. And like casting is actually really important in a film. You know,
Mm.
it's like almost as important as any other part in making a movie. Casting is so important. And literally, like um, the assistant director that we have, she like just came up with this guy out of the blue, you know, and like he was the perfect fit. And I saw his audition and everything, and I was just like, there's no one else for this. Yeah, I mean, so that was kind of like it's kind of like down to the wire. Like every shoot has been, you know, every moment has been. So we started off with the apartment scenes because basically, like I said, I realized we have only until December 20th with most of the people on this project. So then we just started doing like the easier ones until we found actually our location for the office. Turns out the office location is actually just as easy as any other one, but the problem is I like actually wanted an office building. So I like reached out to like so many people. um I must have sent out like 30, 40 emails, you know, to different like
Whoa.
office buildings in this neighborhood that, you know, I was just filming in. um and I heard back from a few of them, heard back from some that were asking for too much money. You know, it was just like a variety of things.
Yeah.
But essentially, you kind of have to just work with what you have, you know, when it comes to like filming these scenes. And the good thing about spending so much time in pre-production is that when it comes time to actually shoot, like you know the structure of all these scenes, and you know how much work and how much money is going to go into any scene. So it makes it easier
Mm-hmm.
to like plan around those. Um, yeah, I mean, honestly, like I said, like I can't stress this enough. Like it really has taken on a life of its own, and it's like worked out in its own kind of way. So yeah, um, sorry, I'm just like so exhausted. I didn't realize how exhausted I was until just this moment.
No, no, you're good, man. I feel like I think it's totally warranted. Like your state, like I get it, dude. You're in the middle of producing this film, and you're taking the time to talk to me and talk to the listeners about this project. And so what in what way has it like taken on a life of its own? Is it just like those changes that are happening sort of on the fly, or is it like just going? I don't know.
Okay. So, well, okay. So I do keep saying that, but like, so there's the fact that like these changes are happening on the fly, and everything is kind of fitting into place in this strange way, like I've never expected. Like, for example, us having like a perfect Rodrigo there, you know, who's just showing up like with as like a friend of the crew, like wanted to be a production assistant, wanted to help out,
Mhm.
and then she just happened to be perfect for this character, which was also a conversation we had like before. But it's just moments like that for one thing. For another thing, if I were to show you the list for like B-roll and like reshoots and like all this stuff, like you would actually realize like just specifically how much needs to be adjusted, like after you got in the script and even after you've like planned your shots and everything like that, and you've decided, okay, this is what we're gonna do here. Like still things end up changing it, and you're like you're working with it, and you're like looking back at the footage, and you're like, oh wow, this would actually be really cool if we added this in this moment. And so like when you do that, when you assemble like a list and then you're like, okay, this is everything, and then you go shoot, and then you find out there's more that you can add to the list, it ends up being this thing of like, how much can I film? Like, how much can I shoot? How much can I add to this? And I think it's important to like keep that main direction, which is something I'm definitely going to try to do. But like, I feel like the more footage that I'm going to get, like the additional scenes that I want to get, they're not going to do anything but really help sell the story, because it's like, if I were to just shoot everything on the script, maybe certain things wouldn't line up or whatever. The film would be fine and it would be good and it would work. But in adding like those extra stuff, you can really like just build the world better. You can like, tell the story of the characters better. You can just add more details. Like, okay, so I'll give you an example. This is something I hadn't really thought about. This is something I've been telling people because I'm really excited about it. So there's a POV shot where, we have Jim and Lacey, right? And I realized like, okay, that's cool if we film that on GoPro because it kind of looks like the human eye, whatever. If we let enough light into there, it won't look too bad. Like it might actually work for the film. And then, I thought like, okay, well, what if we have like, we CG in some cameras on the ceiling in Dax's apartment, so it kind of looks like maybe this is like this government system that's been like all based on surveillance. So it's kind of like our reality, but it's a bit, turned. It's like a bit a parallel universe. And then, okay, so what if we have like a shot of a camera in Dax's apartment? And then what if we have like a POV shot of Dax like on his way to, on his way out of the corporate building, and now he's like running and he's going to go to the warehouse, and so we have a POV of like him on the bike, like leaving the warehouse, leaving towards the warehouse, and then we have like essentially it's like all these like POV shots from the GoPro, but they all like work to serve as like it's Lacey. And then when we have that moment where he like rips the blanket off of Lacey who's in the warehouse, we see the first shot is like POV, and then it cuts to like the other angles. So in that way, it like cements, it's like, okay, we've been seeing these POV shots. We're not really sure like what they serve. And then at the final moment where he rips the blanket off and you see the POV, then you learn, oh, it's like been Lacey watching him this entire time. Like not only is she interacting with him over the phone, not only is she like messing with him, like sending him videos and stuff like that, we also can see physically like it works as a narrative device. And like those kinds of changes like keep happening. And it's like I'm trying to figure out like how do I not bite off more than I can chew, and like tell as much of like an expansive story in like 15-20 minutes as possible, and honestly just make it like halfway between like student film and cinematic. Like that's kind of what I'm looking for. I'm looking for that perfect like point where it's like, you can tell like, okay, maybe they didn't have enough time to shoot. You can tell maybe they didn't have all the locations they wanted. Maybe they didn't have all the actors they wanted. But you can also tell that they really like put a lot into, making sure that the story works on all levels, all levels possible. So I mean, that's kind of what I mean when I say that. Yeah.
Oh, that's really cool. I think that's a great idea. Like the just like adding in those layers and the theming that are all involved, and like turning it into like a techno state type of world, because it's supposed to be sort of like near future, right? It's not exactly set present day.
Yeah.
So I think that really adds a lot. I'm really excited. Those scenes with Lacey and Jim, I really had a lot of fun like figuring out like while writing like which ones could add just enough to build this relationship between this father and daughter figure, but also allow there to be some like nuance to it where it almost makes the viewer a little bit uneasy and like, whoa, wait, what's actually going on here? Like who's that unreliable narrator that we keep playing around with, like who's the good guy here and who's actually telling the truth? And then it sort of the revelation at the end, it's like, uh-oh, we maybe made a big mistake.
No, exactly. I mean, that revelation is so like powerful, I think, because this whole time you see like this character swept into the story, and he's obviously like kind of dirty, like he like has all these like things going on, and we're not really sure like what his deal is. And then you have that moment in the office where it's like he's kind of confronted with himself, and it's like how much of like a person that's like just on the fringes of society, how much of that is he, like is he someone that we can trust? And he's also siding with this person who views this creation, this very obviously like inhuman thing, more than he trusts other people. Like, how reliable are these people? And then the whole story is structured as him like birthing this life, and in the end you just see like the aftermath, and you have to wonder like what like, who is the unreliable narrator? Is it the fact that like at the end we see that this catastrophe has happened, or is it that throughout the story we're being told that this catastrophe is going to happen? Like, maybe it's actually a good thing for humanity. Sorry about all that noise.
No,
But
you're
I
good.
don't know. Yeah. God, I'm
Yeah,
so
and
sorry.
I
So sorry. Yeah,
no,
continue.
you're good, man. I think that was great. The something that's like really fun, and like if we did turn this into like a full feature length screenplay,
Right.
I would really love to like play with the idea of Lacey's motivation. And we only have one scene with Lacey and Jim. I mean, it's sort of like a montage or like a sequence of Lacey and Jim interacting with each other, and I would love to like build that out, and flesh that relationship out, and really figure out what's Jim's motivation, what's Lacey's motivation, and what does she learn from her father figure. And
Right.
then, because that is like the one part of the film or the script at the end that felt like a little bit of a leap in logic, right? It's
Mhm.
like, okay, you're telling us this, but I didn't get that when watching it, or when reading it the first time or whatever. And that's something I think we could have fleshed out a little bit more in the
Mhm.
if it was a feature length. Of course, like we don't have time for
Right.
all of it, but it's I think even in like adding in those layers of the just adding in those layers with whether it's b-roll or like voiceover, you're able to
Yep.
sort of assist with that, to help the viewer like clue in on certain details.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, yeah, man. I mean, yeah. That's no, that's good. That's good. I'm sorry. I'm just thinking like there's so much that I want to say, but I've honestly been like so wrapped up in this movie for so long, and we have essentially one more really stressful week. So I'm gonna be on all of these shoots, but people, even our cinematographer sometimes like is there, sometimes isn't.
Hmm.
But we're shooting Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and then Saturday pickup shots with Dax. So it's like a whole 5 days after tomorrow, and after that I'll get some rest for like maybe 2 days or something, and then get back on to like filming. I mean, literally my plan is to pick up my camera, pick up my tripod, go to different parts of the city, and just like make it look cinematic.
Hmm.
Um, so it's like I think at that point I'll feel a lot better, and I'll be much more like ready to talk about this. But yeah, it's kind of hard to like be wrapped up in this process, and like know what angle to attack it from, because it's so all investing. I will show you my favorite thing though.
Oh, please.
The props.
Oh, let me see him.
This is Dax's helmet.
Nice, looks
Yeah,
good.
I've spent a good bit on props, and honestly, it's just like it's cool. It's cool because it's like a physical like the film is just better because of props, and it's better because of like all the elements baked in. Um, yeah, I think I'm talking to you partially as like how I imagine it's going to turn out. I'm talking to you like as if the film is completed, because in my mind it's completed. In my mind it's completed, but we're just talking about it like in the past right now. So I'm like, so I think I might even be a bit vague, and that might be on me. But definitely, like after we film most of our scenes, like after this week, like I'll have so much more to talk about. And you know, I know that we always have really good conversations, and this is a cool thing that you have going on. I mean, honestly, like I really like that you have a podcast and you've been, working on it and keeping steady with it and having a new like conversation every week. Like that's really cool too. And I'm sure that's also like kind of a thing. And I'm sure you have a variety of like interactions. Sometimes it's probably just you listening. Sometimes it's more of like a dialogue. Um, but yeah, no, I'm super glad that you're doing this. Also, just for me, because I definitely need to like record this and remember this. I mean, I'm probably gonna look back at how exhausted I was in this and just be like, damn, like, damn.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, man, you're on those night shoots, right? Because
Mhm.
all these scenes are at night.
Yeah. I feel so bad about that though. Like, literally the other day, we filmed until 3 a.m. and the reason we filmed until 3 a.m. was because one of the actors like just kind of didn't have the script in their head and was also kind of exhausted.
Yeah,
So it
yeah.
took us like a lot to get through that. And then, I mean, the plan was to shoot until 10 p.m. Or to shoot until midnight and call it because we start at 7. Um, but then we showed up and I don't know. I don't know. It was like a number of issues. I think we also had to like walk through the scene. Had I more time to plan, I probably would have planned rehearsals,
Mm,
but we kind of just ended up doing like rehearsals on the day of shooting.
yeah.
No, um, but luckily the toughest scene that we have, which is scene 8, I think that one's this week. So after, like I said, after this, I'm gonna keep coming back to that. I'm so sorry, man. I'm so
No,
sorry.
you're good.
But yeah, like we're doing night shoots, so we start at 7. That way we can shoot during the week, and like most of the actors and crew can make it. We
Yeah.
start at 7, and then we finish usually at around midnight, a little bit later maybe. So I mean, people are working full-hour shifts, like full shifts, like 6 hours a night or whatever, and they're all just like bringing everything they can, and they're all just like working so hard. I'm honestly like just in so much debt to these people. Like even if I make an amazing film and for whatever reason this does so good, um, I'm still gonna owe them.
Yeah.
Like I mean, everyone who's worked with me has made this film possible. Like it's so insane the amount of responsibility that's on. So then that's on all these people. Like I mean, what if we were to do this film and then for some reason we couldn't get any locations, and it's like part of the reasons we have locations is because of the people I know.
Hmm.
So yeah, that's that, man.
Yeah, dude, that's busy, and I think it goes to show like how like, man, that's something I don't know if I've talked about it on the podcast actually, but well,
Mm.
maybe I have. I think I might have talked about it with you, but being that beacon, like everybody wants to network and reach out to people that they can work
Right.
with and leverage to their advantage, not in a negative
Yeah.
way, but just work with people. But sometimes it takes being that person that people want to work with, and standing up your own islands and standing up your own um infrastructure and stuff like that. And
Mhm.
I think you've really done that. It's pretty incredible to witness, actually. And I don't think I've commended you enough on like the journey you've been on, because we started talking over the summer when this was
Oh my
really
God, that's right. Over the summer, dude. Do you still have that first script that you sent me?
I have the treatment. Yeah, it wasn't a full script, it was a treatment.
Was it a
um
treatment? Okay.
yeah,
I
it was like,
want that. I want you to send me that again because like that is so different from what we ended up with.
yeah, it's radically different. And I was thinking about like, if we were to turn this into a movie, I would want to like go back a little bit and see what
Mhm.
we can pull from that original treatment, because there's a lot of like nuggets of like goodness, I think, that really add to the story. And of course, like, it would have to change, but there's a lot of stuff that I really liked in there, and then we decided to go in like a different direction, which I think was for the better for this film. um
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah.
I like the changes we've made have been really good for
I think Jim
telling
was
this story.
more fleshed out character in the original one. Jim was like, yeah, Yeah, like I remember like we got the first script and then I was like overwhelmed by stuff in my life and I was like, I'm not making the movie.
Yeah.
And then you were like, okay, well I'm gonna go make it then. And then I was like, okay, we're making the movie again. And then we came out with a fucking banger of a script. I mean, honestly, I showed one of these guys who's working with us. He's always talking about his experience in Hollywood and stuff like that. And he was like, of all the senior of all the student films I've worked with, like this has the best scripts, like hands down. So I was just like, dude, I gotta tell Chase that, like, that's awesome.
Oh, no way, man. That's so
Yeah,
kind of him.
yeah. People
I
really like the story. People really like the script, and I think so far we are doing it justice for our limited budget.
Yeah. That's really cool, man. I was gonna I was gonna be a giant dork, and I was gonna, after we recorded, I was gonna say like, hey man, so what do people think of this or of the script? Like, what
People
do the
love
actors
it.
think? Like, what do the producers think? So I'm glad that it's been received well.
Yeah.
That's really cool. That's
I'm also
makes me
recording
feel
little
good.
interviews of the actors like talking about their thing because like I told you, like I kind of want to do a big old like production timeline,
BTS.
ETS, like documentary kind of thing because it's like
Yeah.
we're gonna have enough footage. We're gonna have enough footage of you know the actors getting into character and like learning how to actually find the character within themselves, like literal like footage of them finding the character,
Yeah.
and footage of just like all the shoots and all the like fuckery and everything that went into it. And I mean, honestly, it's like, I mean, okay, so here's why I'm an insane person, right?
Tell
I'm
me about
here.
it.
I'm starting to get my energy back. Here's why
Yeah.
I'm an insane person. So not only do I want to like spend another like month or so shooting like B-roll and stuff like that to just like set the scene better. Not only do I want
Mhm.
to spend the next like 6 months editing this thing and making it into something that's actually worth watching. Not only do I want to also go back to doing my 3D art once I'm done filming and doing all this other stuff. Not only do I want to pick up and start a new project as soon as I'm done with this, I also want to make a documentary about the process of making this. Like, but I'm also the first to bitch and moan about how tired I am. So this is
Dude,
why
I
I'm
love it,
insane,
man.
and why you should always listen to not me.
Well, I think that's what it takes though. Like, you have to be a little bit crazy in order to get projects like this done. And man,
Yeah,
I say don't stop. Like, keep it up. Do you
for
love
sure.
it though? Like, are you enjoying this every step of the way?
Oh yeah, I mean that was like the thing. Like I was thinking on my way here, I was like, okay, don't talk about how exhausted you are. Don't vent about the film. The film is fun. We're having a good time. We enjoy the film. We don't have any problems with it. We love doing this. It's just that we're physically tired, and that's it. That's all that it is. And physical tired kind of translate to mental tired, which is why I'm so glad that I have an assistant director. I'm glad I have like cinematographers. It's not just me doing this. Um,
Yeah.
but like yeah, I love the fact that I was like literally thinking because my thing is like like I told you I wanted to do some digital art, so I want to get into like sculpting like people, but like also the whole reason that I want to do art is because it's like I feel like it's a good way of expressing myself because I'm not very good with my words. Um, and I feel like it's a way of like expressing the things that I'm truly feeling, which anyone can take away anything that they want from it. And when it comes to digital art, like 3D art, like sculpting, everything like that, I feel like that's a space where you can just go crazy with it. Like there are no boundaries, and so I really want to do like people that are mixed with like creatures and kind of like let them express themselves like physically and also like emotionally in a certain way. And like as I was like working on this film today, I was like thinking about how excited I am to get back to that. It's been so long, and I'm just like so excited. I don't think I have an off switch. I think I drive myself into the ground, and then I crash, and then I spend 3 days depressed, and then I get back to it. So I
Yeah.
guess I do love it in some way, and I might be a little bit obsessed, honestly.
Dude, it takes that type of person though. That's,
Yeah.
like, and I think that's really great. And that's something I've learned about myself is like
Mhm.
getting obsessed and, wanting to see things through to the finish line. That's
Yeah.
something I have been frustrated with, not other people, but like myself, I guess, is just like starting projects and not finishing them, or like having
Yeah.
ideas and never following through. And that's I told myself, oh man, I bring this quote up a lot, but
Mhm.
I listened to this biography by about Walt Disney, and there's a line that stuck out to me, and he was talking about, the creation of Disneyland in California, and he mentioned like the success of this project will depend on its completeness, and
Mm.
that really stuck with me. And it's it's like in my bio on Instagram and everything like that. It's just something that really, like, this will not be a success unless I see it through all the way to the end. And whether
Yeah.
that's a script or a film or this podcast, it's like I'm gonna give it my fair shot at doing this thing, until I decide, like, okay, this is enough. I've given it all that I can, and yeah, I think it's complete now.
I think
So
that
that's
mentality is like, I'm so glad that this is required for my school, because if it wasn't, I probably, I don't know, maybe wouldn't try so hard, or maybe I wouldn't be so motivated to start in the first place, but I have been looking for an opportunity to really like create a project and have a finished product. Like, I mean, that's the thing, is like, I've spent years doing all these things, and I don't want to say I have nothing to show for it, but it's just like, it's hard to display any kind of like portfolio or anything like that, because I do happen to like get into new projects and get really excited about them and then not finish them. But with this, I feel like this is like really like a debut for me. This is going to be like a transition into a new age, because it's like after I'm done with this, like, I want to take on like other projects, maybe have a bigger team so it's not all on me.
yeah.
But like I want to do other things, and I do feel like I do see this being complete, and being complete in the way that I envision it. It just is going to take a lot of work. And I mean, like, one thing that I've told some people about, and some people have told me, is like, it's kind of like, right now I have a choice. I don't really have a choice. It's like I could give up and say I'm tired, I don't want to do it, and then just not have it finished, and then not graduate and whatever, and hate myself forever. Or I could just show up one more week, show up one more week, get the footage I need, and then like take a nap for 2 days, 3 days, you
Yeah.
know. And that's so much better, I think. I'm going to try to bring that mentality into everything, because it's like, I mean, why shouldn't you complete things? Why shouldn't you go that extra mile, like just to get the result that you want, especially if it's something that's so special and so important to you. I mean, this is super important to me, and I've worked with people so far in this film who have a degree of like ego to them, or like experience, so they think that they're better than everyone else there, and like those people are uncomfortable to work with, right? But
Mhm.
it's kind of like I've removed myself. I keep saying this, so I don't know if it's true anymore, but like I've removed myself from the identity of this project. I'm more invested in seeing it through, and like seeing it, like that's also what I mean when I say like it's taken on a life of its own. Like I'm more interested in seeing where it reaches, and where it goes, than myself. Like I feel like it's detached from me. I don't even see myself in this project anymore. When I was first making it, I was like so invested in like, oh, this is like my senior film, like this is my first film, like if I never get to make another film, let me make sure my film is like about all the things that I want to say at once. And
Mhm.
now I'm not even in this project. There's no me in there. I'm not even in a cameo or anything, which I'm trying to actually get myself into one. But like, like I'm not like in this project. It's like pretty much completely about the idea itself. I care about the idea so much, and I care about telling this story more than anything like happening right now. Like I'm not even really doing my classes anymore. I'm just like so invested in this story, and you don't need to worry about that, because like my classes are structured in a way that I don't have to care about them right now, so it's fine.
Mhm.
But it's like I just like I don't know. I can't envision a reality in which I do give up and say I'm tired. I don't want to get these extra shots. Like I literally looked at my like list of like I can count it for you right now. It won't take too long. But I literally, can you still hear me?
Yep. Yeah. Yeah.
If I switch pages on Discord, for some reason it like stops responding. I just
Yeah.
like worry about that. I'm going to show you right now. So for Dawn, which it's so cool. I love the title too. Okay. So for Dawn, we have, oh my God, I have not counted this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30 extra B-roll shots, not filmed
Wow.
yet. Yeah, some of them are for scenes that we have filmed, and it's like I look at this, and in no way am I like discouraged or like I can't do this. This is too much. I do think I bit off more than I can chew, but like at no point am I just like I would rather not do it. So it's really cool. It's really cool that like the school made me do this shit. It's really cool that the school brought this out of me. It's unfortunate that they won't help me more. It's kind of been all on me to do this and to plan it out and everything, but for the most part, it is really cool that I was held responsible for something like this for my own project. It's like how often how often are we held accountable for our own stuff? It's like not very often. It's like usually someone else is usually directed by someone else, usually created by someone else. But this is like my creation, and I feel like so responsible for making sure that the story gets told. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah, there's a lot to unpack there, but there's so much.
Yes.
No, there's so much goodness in those life lessons too. Um, I'm a big, and it's a matter of growing up too. Like I was not this way. Like I wouldn't have gone to school unless my parents required that of me,
Yeah.
and I wouldn't have passed my classes unless I knew there was a grade associated with it or a graduation or a diploma tagged to it. But
Yeah.
once you into like adulthood, into the professional world, you start realizing these things that you're doing or the things that you did, they weren't you weren't doing them because they were required of you. You were doing them because your parents knew they were good for you. And that's why they required you to do them. And then when you grow up and now you don't have a parent to tell you what to do, now you start doing things because you know that they're good for you.
Yeah.
And you hold yourself accountable because you know that's what's best at the end of the day. And those there's a ton of life lessons that I think you've learned in like the past month of production that you've been through right now, maybe month and a half,
Yes.
and that's they're all gold that are going to translate to the next project, and you're going to be able to carry that motivation or like grit into the future, and it's going to be really it's going to serve you like well past this project. And that's probably one of the motivations behind your film school, like being a little bit more hands off and like letting you live and die by your own
Mhm.
laurels, so to
Mhm.
speak. So it's
Mhm.
interesting. It's really cool, like hearing you're going through it right now. Like I've been
Yeah.
having on the podcast that's going out tomorrow, actually. I talk with my cousin who's a little bit older than you. He's 2 years younger than me, and I guess you're like maybe 3 years younger than him. And uh, he just went through that, I guess. So
Mhm.
it's interesting to hear you who's going through it right now, and then him who's like had a few years removed and is working through that also. So it's cool, and
Yeah.
it's inspiring, man. It's really good stuff.
No, it is good stuff. And I'm also just very excited to see what I sound like. Looking back on this, I'm kind of excited about that. But yeah, I mean, how often do we get such a genuine view of ourselves? And I mean, I do want to say, like, as this started off like a really high pressure like environment for me. I worked with people, and I've like literally had people quit. Like, I've literally had people like reject the responsibility. And it's like because I was so like ready to like push anything, to make this thing happen. I was so ready to push myself beyond my limits. Yeah, that's what it's like, man. I mean, I had to learn, I had to learn like just how to approach things and how to like ask for favors and how to have people work on this and delegate a lot. And I think I've like also worked with people so far who like want more or like want like can take the responsibility and are ready to really like just do this because they believe in the project. I mean, I think that this is going to be so much more, because I have people like that working with me. Even though there are people who have been difficult, or even though there are people who, weren't up to the task really. But yeah, no,
Yeah.
we've all learned so much. We've all learned so much. I mean, even our lead actor, he's doing a great job. He's been working harder than I even expected. And had I gone with the original option, I wouldn't get nearly as much effort out of him.
Hmm.
Um, and this guy has never acted before. What is that about?
Wow.
He's like doing a great job. He's like crushing it. So
Wow.
that's what it's been like. That's what it's been like. It's like these like moments where it's just like, I mean, like, ugh, I'm gushing right now. I'm like excited to see this all come together. And it's like because everyone's worked so hard, it makes me want to cry. Like I have such a good team with me. And it's a shame that like I have people showing up and sometimes they just have like a bad attitude. Like, I think halfway through I realized I transitioned from like this is like a pressure cooker and I'm just like ready to, you know, I migrated from that to like I want to make a movie with friends, and it's been like half and half. Like today, I was just on this guy's bike and I was just like filming footage for our scenes, and it's just like that was such a fun shoot, and it was just me and our stunt double, right? And it's like sometimes it's going to be difficult. Sometimes it's going to be a vibe where it's just like making meals in the kitchen while we're also filming in the bedroom or whatever like that, And it like shoots like that are really fun, and then you have shoots where people who are kind of difficult, and those aren't as fun. But when those people leave, then it's just the people. It's like the people who are here like as like a friends, making a movie, and it's really cool that like it's this kind of like duality where it's like it's not always fun and it's not always not fun. And so I think like the variety really keeps it interesting for all of us. um,
Yeah.
Next week is going to be without a doubt unfun. No one's going to be happy next week, but the good thing is it's not everybody who's working every day that week. It's like our lead is going to be killing it for the next like week whatever, but then he's off. But I mean honestly he has like probably one of the biggest like loads, work, loads, whatever, of
Hmm.
anyone. And he's doing a great job. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's a cool experience and lots of life lessons. Definitely lots of life lessons.
Well, that's awesome, man. I'm really, really excited to see this movie. I, I'm pretty removed from it, but getting these tech updates in the group chat and hearing you talk about it now, this has really gotten me extremely motivated. I'm not even a part of it, but I'm just like, oh wow, I can't wait to see this. I can't wait to share this project with um, all the people who are listening. Just to give some kudos, a lot of the folks who listen to the podcast and know me personally, they reach out and they're like, oh man, those screenwriting podcast episodes, those are really cool, really exciting. It's fun to see like the behind the scenes development of a short film.
Yeah,
Like nobody gets to see that stuff. Like this is
yeah.
pretty raw behind the scenes student
It's
film.
extremely raw. It's extremely raw. I need to have a bigger team. That is what I'm going to say. I need to have more delegation, but it's a small ship.
Yeah. Yeah, man. Well, you're doing a good job at the helm, keeping it on course.
Thank you, man. Thank
I'm
you.
I'm really excited, but I think that might be the podcast, dude.
Yeah, that's totally cool. Yeah. To all the listeners, I know that there is something in here that everyone can gain from. Definitely, if you're making a film, plan it, but also be ready to make changes. And try to be flexible, but also try to have a vision and really love what you're doing. I think that's the only reason that I'm able to continue is just because I love it so much, and I need to see this through. So yeah, get obsessed, get crazy, get obsessed.
Whoa, hello everybody. I hope you all enjoyed that podcast. I hope you all got some neat, interesting tidbits about, producing films and what goes on behind the scenes of these, filmmakers who are down in the trenches getting their hands dirty with all this filmmaking stuff. And here I am from my, I don't know, throne, just like talking to these people about, oh man, you guys are really working hard. That's sick. I'm just behind my keyboard typing away, writing a story in my mind. But no, I hope you all enjoyed that podcast. It was great to record with Elijah. We have some more updates for you all that are coming later down the pipeline. It's wild. This film really took on a life of its own, and it's, we're well into the middle of production, and soon we'll be in post and editing and all that stuff. So I'm excited for you all to get all of those updates and more with the rest of the Improve podcast. I wanted to give you all an update on my goals for this week. So I'm still slugging away at this screenplay, my current work in progress that I am working on slowly but surely. I might make a switch up. I'm not announcing any changes to my goals. I'm going to stay steady rocking on this goal of mine, but we'll see. Might make a change up for next week or something like that as it comes to my goals for this screenplay. But that's really all I have to say today. I hope you all enjoy that podcast. I do want to give a quick shout out to all of our musical themes. Shout out to Green Bean. He creates all of those musical intros and outros, and they are phenomenal. Yes, shout out to him. He's been on the podcast a couple of times. You can check out those previous episodes on your podcast listening app of choice. Also in that app, I don't know if you knew this, but you can leave a 5-star review, and you can share this podcast with your friends. That's how we grow as a podcast. But leaving a 5-star review. Would love that. If you leave a 5-star review, we actually read it out here live on the podcast. Let me jump to Apple Podcasts right now, check if there's any reviews that I can read. Not a one. No more updates on the 5-star reviews. Still sitting at a perfect rating though, so nothing less than 5 stars. So hey, I'll take it. That's pretty killer. But no, I will catch you all later. Let me outro this thing. All right. Thank you all for leaving a 5-star review. Thank you all for sharing. Thank you all for all of your feedback. If you want to shoot me an email with an update on your goals, feel free to contact me at theimprovepodcast@gmail.com, and I would love to hear about it. It'd be great if read it on the podcast. Maybe share with the community what we're doing with each other's goals and stuff like that. It'd be great. But with that, I think that's about everything from me. So I will catch you all next week for another episode of the Improved Podcast. I hope you achieve your goals, and I will talk to you all later. Goodbye.